France, another international topic. We'll do France and China, then we'll get to riots and equity and infrastructure. Those two are a little related. France is banning flights. It's banning forever, not because of COVID. They're banning flights forever. If the flights are less, if you could take a train ride between the same two destinations that is 2.5 hours or less, you cannot fly. They're canceling the flight. They're banning planes from flying. And of course, people are very upset because the initial proposal was 4 hours. If you can take a train ride that is 4 hours, there shouldn't be any flights between these two destinations. So you might want to go, I don't know, flying to Paris and go out to, I don't know, Nice. I don't know, Nice is probably more than 2.5 hours train. But whatever, you want to go to some place near the French Alps, which is 2.5 hours away by drive, and you're jet lagged. Now you're going to have to get in a car and drive. No, you won't drive. You can take the train, but you have to get your bags, go to the train station, get on a train. I don't know if the train station's at the airport. Probably not. You have to switch trains once you get into Paris and then take the train because there are not going to be any connecting flights. And it turns out, as I was reading about this, that there is a whole movement around Europe to ban short flights, to ban connecting flights. You have to use the train. Now, why? What is it about flying that is so offensive? Well, all you have to do is ask Greta, right? That little girl from, where's she from? Germany? Denmark? Can't remember where she's from. All you have to ask is Greta. Greta, you remember Greta came to the United States and she wouldn't fly. Right? She wouldn't fly because, jet fuel, it turns out, jet fuel is a major pollutant. It is a major source of CO2, and therefore it is a major source of climate change. And therefore it is damn wrong to fly because you're destroying the planet. Now, most people are not like Greta, they don't have that kind of, quote, integrity. So for most people, we can't trust them to make the kind of decisions. Thank you. She's from Sweden. I should have known she was from Sweden. Anyway, she's from Sweden. She could be German, though. Give me a break, right? She could be. Her and Hans, what was his name? Hans, the Great Reset Hans guy. Flying is disaster for climate change, we're told. And therefore, Europe is shutting down flights. Somebody said, this is like Atlas Shrugged. Yes, this is very much like Atlas Shrugged. Let's just shut down human life. Let's slowly start erasing human life. Let's slowly start shutting down, making it inconvenient, making travel as difficult and inconvenient as possible. Right? Klaus Schwab, with that heavy German accent, he was the perfect representative for the Kantian Great Reset, right? And this is, of course, your duty is not to travel because travel creates CO2. We are going to force you not to travel. Now, it turns out I read another article that said that like 50% of all the carbons emitted by airplanes are really caused by a small number of flyers. Me, I'm one of them, who fly X 100,000 miles a year. They're responsible, like 50% of all the cars, because they fly so much. They're the ones, and they do international flights, and they're the ones responsible. Right? So we're supposed to stop traveling. We're supposed to stay home. This fits with the Great Reset, right? It fits with COVID. It fits with lockdowns. It fits with, remember I did that show on why can't people just settle for a normal life? Yeah, why can't you just settle for a normal life? Just stay home, stay local, you know, go to the grocery store, go for a walk around in the park. Why do you have to travel? Why do you have to go to exotic places or different places or new places or beautiful places? I'm sure you can find beautiful things in your local backyard. Europe didn't get bolder on climate because of Biden. Europe got bolder over climate because of COVID. What they discovered in COVID is they could shut down their entire population and nobody would say a word. Nobody would say a word. So it's climate change that has given them the courage to be more aggressive in their climate fascism. European productivity is not incredibly high. It's significantly worker productivity in places like France and Italy is below the United States. In Germany, it's about the same as the United States. I did a whole show on this with graphs and everything. You can look it up. Grumpy Economist has a whole article about this. And factor productivity, if you add factor productivity to worker productivity, European countries all drop off dramatically as compared to the United States in terms of productivity. Look it up on this is a comment somebody made that European productivity is higher than the U.S. It's just not true. Look it up on John Cochran's blog, The Grumpy Economist. He has a whole article with graphs, with numbers that show it. No, I mean, they are emboldened now by the fact that their populations have just been willing to submit. Well, the next big thing to submit to is use a train. Don't use an airplane. And you know, when they run out of electricity and when they're struggling to produce enough electricity to run those trains, because the trains are obviously electric trains, they wouldn't be coal trains or diesel trains, right? They'd be electric trains. When they run out of electricity, they'll tell you to, well, they won't tell you to drive your car, because if they run out of electricity, your electric car won't work, and you can't use a gas-guzzling, ordinary car, because that's a gas-guzzling ordinary car. So what will they tell you? Walk. Ride your horse. This is how we regress backwards. I mean, think about it. If they want to convert all the cars to electric cars, where's the electricity going to come from? Solar and wind? Really? I mean, unless we go full-on nuclear power, the move away from fossil fuels means a move away from automobiles. There is no alternative. So Europe is shutting down flights. I mean, that's one thing I don't think the American people would tolerate yet. Europeans are willing to tolerate much more than Americans. Plus, the Europeans have better railroads, let's admit it. But even granted that, Europeans are much more willing to accept these kind of things than Americans. Although, given the American response to shutdowns, it could very well be that we move towards greater and greater and greater and greater controls at a faster and faster rate. Again, emboldened by COVID.
All right. And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize. I know this is difficult. Can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute. That man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it. And that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith.
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason, a morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
All right. All right.
Now, may I define what my morality is?
All right.
Because this is merely an introduction. My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people, nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
May I?
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it, but at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing, whether you're looking at this. And you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share. And you can support the show at JeronBrookShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.